Greetings everyone. We are here today and we are splitting a cedar log so that we can use it as one of the steps on our Rock Creek Bridge down to the spring. So before I show you how to do it, I want to show you what I tried and failed. So I saw some videos online and I thought, let's try this. So before this, and I lost the videos and I accidentally deleted them, I would split one side and then I would go down to the other side and lay it down, prop it up against something, and then split the other side. And the video I saw, well, of course, it worked perfectly. And it split and it just kind of met right in the middle, and it was like, no problem, and he just pulled it apart.
Was that the mad Russian?
So what happened to me was I put it in one side, it split very well, just like this, and then I was like, yeah, working well. Put it on the other side, and it split very well, but they ended up splitting and meeting not even close to each other. So I ended up with two not usable pieces. So I learned a lesson, and I saw other videos online, and so we're going to do what those do, and this is what I've done for the other ones that I split. And with this, we are able to correct the splitting should it start to go in the wrong direction. So what my brother Keith has done is we've identified a location right in the center, and we actually started it with the hatchet just to make a little indentation, and then we put the wedge in there, banged it in. We got this, and we got it to that point. Now we're going to lay it down, and we're going to add other wedges.
I'm going to lay it down. Ah, yeah, right there.
And this particular cedar branch has a whole bunch of branches coming off of it, so usually you want to try to split it so that it avoids the, what am I trying to say? What's the word?
Knots,
the knots. Yes, we're going to try to avoid the knots, but in this situation, there are so many,
unavoidable.
We're just going to force it all the way through where we want it. And if it starts going in the wrong direction, we're going to correct it with other wedges. So what did you do? I found
the end, and I'm going to go on the end and down a little bit from it. Is that right?
I think so.
Okay. See what happens.
Oh yeah. And after you bang it in to a certain extent, the other one should start to loosen.
Yeah.
And then you can take that out and just follow it.
Going.
And then, is it cracked right here?
It is.
And it actually bent around the knot, thank goodness.
Yeah.
And
Let's see. Yeah.
Okay.
Around it.
So we can go right at the very end of that.
It worked that time.
Oh, see, he was a lumberjack skills earlier. He just threw it at and it stuck.
In my past life, I was a lumberjack.
What's that? Monty Python song?
Oh, I don't know. I can't remember.
I'm a lumberjack and that's okay. I sleep all night and I work all day. And there's a bunch of guys all around the bar and they're like, yeah, with their kegs of beer. We're lumberjacks. And then he starts singing. And I'm just going to destroy this whole story because I don't know any of the words or anything. All I know is what the songs turned into was how he loved men and he was this big flaming homosexual. And all the guys were like, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Ooh.
Wait a minute. Monty Python.
Yeah, of course, Monty Python.
Okay, so I think take this guy, whack it in until this one gets loose.
Well, I was trying to go around that knot again.
Oh, okay. So we're being extra careful. See,
yeah.
One of the mistakes I did was I probably was just have done what I said to do, and then it started splitting wrong, and I'm like, ah! Dang it. And
That's actually splitting.
is it?
Yeah. Hear it?
Yeah.
You can kind of hear it.
It's creaking.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. Nice. No,
almost.
it's
Let's try it.
working.
Right hand.
There.
There it is. I'm a righty. That's a right-handed axe.
And we're still going down the middle. We are. This is one of those situations where it works. And it looks like they're all going to do this. And so everyone else is going to be like, mine never works like that.
And then when you take the other wedge out close to the other one, make sure your finger's not in there.
Yes.
That stung a little bit just now.
So the reason why we're making this is we've already put in a whole bunch of slats. And then when we got to the end, we started looking at them and we found that we kind of needed to replace 3 because they were kind of crappy. So we had this piece left over, these 2 pieces, and we're creating a new one that's better. And if we look right over here to the right, in that pile are several failures where I split, and it ended up splitting so much that one side was way too thin and I couldn't use it as a step because I'd be afraid it's going to break. So this one looks like it's going great. So let's just continue. Now, the Beast Man guy on the video I saw, he just picked this bad boy up and just split it with his hands. I'm not a beast mode man. You might.
And it probably took
You might be.
many takes for him to do that too.
So we're just going to keep hitting the wedges in until it splits.
That one went like underneath it.
So you're going to put that right back into the crack. Oh, I love that ting sound.
Yeah. No, it's actually already through.
Beast mode. Look at that. See, cedar. I love cedar. It's just beautiful and it smells so good.
It smells good. It smells like Christmas.
It smells like Christmas. Okay, that is how you split cedar. Thank you, Expert Keith, for your expert demonstration. The logs laying down and I start hitting from the side like this. The split sometimes ends up not going straight down the center on the end right here. So after a few mistakes, I realized let's start from the end. And I saw that a few times on YouTube. So what I'm doing is I'm starting from the end and I'm making sure that the split kind of goes down where I want it to, because if you see those big knots, I'm trying to avoid those knots. So I'm trying to go right down here and split it right down the middle. And so I start it with this little hatchet because it's sharper. So I start it there. And then once I have that start, and you see I got my split there, then I can start using my wedges. And then I bring the wedges down one at a time. As soon as the crack opens up, I then move that wedge and put in my other wedge. And that's what I do. More later. Okay, so here I have the first wedge in, right after I took out the hatchet. And now I'm going to take this wedge, and I don't have a cool camera set up, so I'm going to take this wedge, put it in there, beat that bad boy down until this one on the left comes loose. And then when that comes loose, I beat this down even further, and it usually creates a crack right along here. And then I just walk these down until it splits. And as you can see right there, it doesn't always split perfectly, but they're thick enough that it will be very strong still. And there you go. So now look at this. I just beat this wedge in, and now it opens up. And just like described, I will take this guy and walk it down. Let's see if I can do it with the camera on. So this wedge becomes loose. I take this guy, put it down here, and I would probably start it up here higher if I had two hands, but I don't. cracking. Oh, it's right there in the knot. That's why it's fighting. And as you can see, it's splitting a little less than perfect, but it's still going to be very well. If it goes down below this, it starts coming down here, then what I'm going to do is stop immediately and come here at the end with the axe and start this way. In fact, I may just go ahead and do that right now so that it cracks, so it doesn't go down. Actually, it looks like there's a crack right there. But we'll see what happens. Okay, it did go down, but it's still going to the end. Alright, so that's not good. It's not terrible. I might still be able to use it, but we might have to throw away this bottom one here because it's too thin down here in the end. Let's see. That's too bad. But, lesson learned. Yep, that's probably too thin right there. It's okay. We have plenty of trees, plenty of branches. We said even in the very beginning that we have enough to screw up. So this is a learning curve. So now I will split that at both ends first and get it started so that it meets perfectly down the middle on both sides. Let's see how that works next time. Hopefully I learned my lesson from the last time. We're going to see how this works. As you can see, I'm starting to split this log, and I have a split all the way basically to the middle to right here. And what I'm going to do now is take the hatchet, and I'm going to try to line it up right along here and start one right there, so that split goes to the middle of this side all the way to that spot. Otherwise it might end up coming down here, but it doesn't look like it if you look at how things work. But we do have a knot which could throw things off. Just to be on the safe side, I'm going to start on this end. So let's see how that. I'm looking right down the thing, and it looks straight. And you can already see a crack down there starting. So it'd be nice to have had a little sledgehammer, but I don't. So I'm just using the end of this Hyper Tough 4-pound wedge, which I really like. Notice the twist. This one does seem to work better than a standard wedge. And it could be just because this right here at the very end is a little sharper than the other ones, or it could be because of the twist. I'm not sure. I'm not the expert on wedges. Okay, here we go. Oh, no. Okay, shutting off. So I wanted to show you that this last one turned out to be a bit of a mess. First, as I was splitting this end, if you look here, it started splitting again where I didn't want it to. And then I worked my way down, and it was going pretty well. And then, this is the problem. Most of these have been splitting really well, but this guy, how can I do this? I'll show you. This guy has decided to split in multiple places. Look at that. What the heck? Well, so this is just a problem of working with some of this. And I tell you what I did, and maybe this was the problem, is I first started on that side. And then, in fact, I believe this is the problem now that I think about it. And then I came down here in the end and I started splitting. And I noticed that it started splitting pretty badly here in two places. So I said, I'm going to fix that. I'm going to split up here so it doesn't split, and do this. And then I started coming on this side. So then I just worked on this side. Well, had I just stayed on the same side, it probably would have continued like I wanted it to, but it didn't. Lesson learned again. One of these days I'm going to get this right. There it is. Either I split logs, or for the smaller logs I just carved out at the ends so that it wouldn't roll. So now it's solid. And this is such a wonderfully solid bridge. Man, I walk on it and there's no bounce, there's nothing. It's just beautiful. So everything's just sitting there right now. It's just sitting on there. So all the things that I read, you get some galvanized nails like 6 inches or 8 inches or whatever they are, and nail them in. We're going to use the dowels to put the supports in to the sleepers. But I think the nails would be the best thing to do, except for maybe some of those big ones down there at the end. And we had a long piece, and we decided, Shelly and I were talking about this, or maybe it was Keith and I, or maybe all three of us. This right here, this extension, we're going to have a railing that goes across one side of this. And that will support something like this. So that well, come on, baby. So come on. Anyway, so we're going to bring a longer piece all the way down to the ground and bring that up, and that will be like a center support for the railing that will go across the top, basically all the way across. There's already a big tree laying right down there, and we'll somehow connect it to that support or one like it that goes all the way down. So one side will have a support, but I don't even think this needs a support. This thing is so strong as it is. And we have one side of the supports that's longer, and the reason for that is the creek comes in at an angle. So one side needed to be a little bit longer than the other, so we made it, what is it, like 2 inches, 4 inches, 6 inches longer right there. So it's nice because it's not perfect. It's natural, but it's so solid. It's so well built. Just, well, not well built. It's basically, the cedar is so strong. It's just nice. So now we have this bridge. Next thing we're going to do is carry down all the pieces to the creek and mount it. Can't wait. See you later. Bye.
That's red.
Okay, we're building a slat. We're making a slat after we shaved off the bark. And one thing I wanted to demonstrate was I'm notching off one side so that it lays in here and doesn't roll. So this side I'm going to flatten. One of the challenges with this piece is it's skinnier up here and bigger down there. A lot of our pieces actually were pretty consistent all the way through. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to really cut out from this side so that it sits more evenly and doesn't have a raise. So I flattened this section, and there's a trick that I learned on watching some homesteading video. None of this I actually knew myself. I always watch everything. The biggest challenge, and I've screwed up many times, is to try to find the proper place to flatten on this side. So I I don't know how to do it the best way. I've guessed wrong so many times. So I need that side to be flat. So I pick up and I see, okay, so it's like right there. Please help me if you see me screwing up. So now, this is what I learned. You don't have to do a lot of work. If you just hit and go one direction, handful of times, and then you change directions, the pieces just come out. And I'm not even hitting hard. So, and I'm just changing directions, and the pieces come out. When I saw that on that homesteading video, I was like, no way. It's like that wood shop show on TV. Where it's like, okay, what we gotta do is we're gonna make a corner and this thing fits just perfectly. And I got this tool right here that it's done. And we're like, well, I don't have $80,000 buy one tool that uses once in a year. So all I'm doing is just hitting one direction, watch the finger, and then
because
we'll talk about our greatest video of all time later. So
greatest demonstrators ever.
Okay, so before I go too far, I'm going to turn this over and make sure that, oh, I did it. And split in half, and I forgot to mention one thing. We're going to shave off all of the bark. And once it's still a little damp, and this is now at the very, very beginning of June, so supposedly it's easier to shave in spring or early summer. But if you look, these are just coming off really nicely. So we're going to shave this whole thing down, because without the bark, bugs have a less of an opportunity to crawl in, and so it'll last a little longer. So the knots are going to make this a little difficult, but it is shaving pretty easily, and I just wanted to tell you that, to show you that that is how easy it is to shave. And it does matter if your utensil is sharp. We have two hatchets here. This one we've sharpened quite a bit to make a really sharp thing. We don't use this to cut wood very much, or big branches. We use that one to break branches. And this one is Keith's, my brother's, and this one is Shelly's, my sister's. So we didn't go out and buy two hatchets just to have two hatchets. We just happen to have them. So we're just going to continue, and I'm going to shave this off. And once they're shaved off, then we'll bring them down, and then we'll mount them onto the bridge. Thanks. Cedar pieces, and we didn't do it perfectly. We just debarked it enough so that no bark can come in, no bugs or anything can come in the bark, so that this will last longer. So that's the latest development. Step is we have shaved all of these slats, and this is all our shavings from the slats, because we wanted them to last a little longer. The next thing we're going to do is we are going to carry these supports down through the forest so we can start to mount them. And so we're preparing to mount these slats. So this is what we've done. Let's take off a few of these right here. This is Shelly. She's the star of the show. So right here in the end, we are going to use cedar dowels. I think we can just go right here, and that's it. So we cut some cedar dowels, and we tried to make them as straight as possible, but can you grab the one that's a little crooked, the smallest one? So she can bend that straight. And we're hoping, we've never done this before, but we're hoping and expecting that if we can bend that straight once we get down there and we need to do this. If not, we're going to stick it into the creek and let it soften up a bit, and then we're going to beat it in there. And then we had a concern. Did we bring our beater? We didn't. Ah. Okay, so we had a concern of, okay, pretend that this big log is our hammer. So we had a concern of when we have the dowels here, can you hold that? Of with our hammer hitting this dowel, smack, that this would get all kinds of beat up, because these are only an inch or a half inch or 3/4 of an inch wide. So to avoid that, we took a drill and we drilled a hole so that we can take our stick. Where's the biggest one that I just cleaned off? There it is. So we drilled a hole so that we can, go ahead, pretend you're drilling the hole. So we drilled a hole right here so that now, yes. In fact, we can even drill the smaller ones. Because we are going to make the smaller one for the smaller dowels. But for now, we decided instead of beating this with a hammer at the end, we are going to put this in the hole like this. And then we made this. We found another piece of cedar. It's so solid. I love how solid it is. And so instead of hitting the dowel with the hammer, we're going to hit this hard piece of cedar. And the hole will help us hold it steady, and it'll help it from spreading at the end as well.
Spreading.
So hopefully, with our hammer connected to that, and someone holding it out there safely, because I'm not a hammer expert, and so someone, if they were to hold it right here, would probably get their fingers whacked pretty well. So once we get it started in the hole, we're just going to beat this down. So now what we decided to do is for these little dowels, we wanted at least one big one. For the little dowels, I'm not sure if that hole there is, if it's good to have the hole that big around this dowel. Oh, by the way, we are going to start with the small end down. And when I realized this bigger end right here was too big for this hole, so I just took a knife and I just whittled it off, and it fits in there just barely, which is what we want. So now we found. This is not your drill. Oh, you got it? Okay. So now we are going to drill. Unfortunately, our bits are not long enough, so we found this extension in our dad's garage. And yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, this is not the best extension.
Is that deep enough?
A little longer. This is also how you start a fire. That's good. Notice, don't touch that. That's going to be hot. Is it hot?
No.
No? You're just tough. Now our little guys can go into this hole. We may have to make a bigger hole. Does that fit in there? Yeah, it does. Yep. So now our little guys can fit in here and get beat upon without it splitting at the top. So the next step is, we're waiting to drill these holes here until we get them set in the sleepers. because I didn't want to drill the hole here and find out that it's angled the wrong way or something. So we're waiting till we get down there to drill the sleepers, to drill the holes for the dowels. And these dowels clearly are going to be long enough. Where's our shortest dowel? Right here. So we got a sleeper. Can you hold that?
Mm-hmm.
We have a sleeper that's pretty much the same size. So that's going to go through that support and pretty well into the sleeper, isn't it? And if anything hangs out, we're just going to whack it off. And we're going to have a very strong thing, which I think is going to last probably longer than nails.
Whack it off about there.
Yeah.
Or there. Whatever works.
Awesome. So next, Shelly, my sister, and I are going to drag these 9-foot beasts. Roughly, I don't know how long it is down to the trail. It's not very long, but it's going to be long enough for us to hate it. That's next. We're not going to film that, but we'll film it when they're there. Thank you for listening. Bye. All the holes in the bridge. We have taken off the slats. We are getting ready to carry these supports down to the location, to the creek bridge. Just in case we aren't the ones that piece together the slats, we decided to be a little silly. Is that right? In numbering them. So what do we do? Number one is number one. 2 dots. Triangle. Square. 5. Then we come up with some system of counting with the slash is 5 and the 1 is the 1, 6. What's that? 7 swans are swimming.
7 swans are swimming.
7 swans are swimming.
So that's supposed to be a swan.
That's a swan. And that's obviously an 8-ball. Baseball diamond. Our system of a slash equaling 5 is there's 10, but then there's 11, which is clearly not the same.
Clearly.
So whoever's going to have to put these together, we're not even going to tell them anything, and if they screw up, we're going to laugh at them. And then we're like, okay, we can't keep doing this because we're running out of time. So we just numbered the rest. These are the bottom sides, so no one will see these numbers once we mount them to the bridge. So this will be a little secret, and no one will know except for those who saw this be put together. Cool. Are you ready to start getting into beast mode?
Yeah.
Because those things, can you even pick it up?
I don't know. I'm not gonna.
You want to try? Just picking up. Try picking up one end.
Alright. Oh.
Shelly is super strong. Oh, let it drop. It sounds like. Oh.
Alright.
We're gonna be able to drag that down.
We'll be able to drag it.
We're gonna.
We might have to stop in between, take a little rest.
We are gonna do the rope thing, and
Yeah.
see. We're
I'm
gonna.
not quite sure how to do it.
So we're gonna put a rope around our shoulders, strap it around the front of the log, and then the other person's gonna put it around
This
them.
I have to learn. I don't know.
We're just gonna wrap it around the shoulders like a bag, and hopefully it doesn't require. Yeah, then we're gonna pull it through, and then that is gonna go around the log, and the next person at the end is gonna do the same thing, so we can drag it, carry it. We're not gonna really carry it. We're gonna try to just drag it and keep the front off the ground.
Should we mark the front?
We didn't.
We'll know. We'll know. That's the top.
Oh,
And that's the bottom.
we have a problem.
No, no problems. We can't have problems.
We laid this all out with the intent of that right support being on the right side, the left being on the left side. But we may need to, no, I was thinking we may need to switch it. And the longer one, because the one on the left is about 9 inches longer. I think we're okay. All right. Enough of that. Here's the numbering system. Our slats off. Supports are ready to go. Rope is ready. Here we go. Time to carry. This is probably not the best way of doing it, but we have a rope wrapped around once, going around. Can you lift your arm?
Yeah.
Going around. Is it on your shoulders? It's hard. Is it already hurting? And it's going up here to me. So I don't know how this is going to work. Are you ready? Here we go.
Are we? You're going to film this. It's whacking me.
Why is it closer to you?
I don't know.
Oh, watch out for the branch. Watch out for the branch back there.
Okay.
We're going way down there to that corner. So, anyone watching this, I'm like moving the camera all over the place. And they're gonna go all kinds of.
It's easier to carry on the gravel.
Yes. Is that a bird in that yard?
Oh.
Yeah, that's a bird. Oh.
It's a cardinal.
My neck. How's your neck?
It really hurts.
Yeah.
It's gonna kill us. Do you think we should grab it like farther towards the middle?
And then what? What if it flips down and the point
No.
hits?
It's like
Ow,
it's banging me.
crap.
I can't do anything when I'm laughing, but it keeps banging me in the back of the leg.
Okay. We are stopping the video because I have to make an adjustment because my neck is killing me. All right, my neck is killing me. I gotta. Oh, ow.
It was on your.
Okay. We made it all the way from up there in the corner. But the problem is our trip is just beginning. We are going down through that sort of path. Somehow the log got heavier. It's digging into my shoulder. And we're going to go down that thing. It's not wide enough for the two of us side by side like this. So
What if we wrap the rope around it? I don't know how both of us are going to do this. I don't know.
how about I try to just drag it? Because the whole idea was going straight down the trail. That is a hill that goes down. It doesn't show up in the camera, but that is down. This is grass kind of growing flat, but then that drops off. So gravity may be a friend. So I may just wrap this around and see if I could drag it myself, and you just pick it up off of the crap that stops it and clears the path. Because if we're going down a hill,
It's going to go.
it might just go.
Well, I hate for you to pull it by yourself. Dang it.
Okay, well, let's see what happens.
Oh, crap.
Ready? I may be able to
What
wrap
if
this around me. Oh, yeah. That way you can escape out of this if you just have your arm. Here we go, folks. What the heck is this? Is that one of these stickers? Oh, geez, that's one of those sharp sticker bush.
Devil's thorn.
Devil's thorn, that's it. Sharp sticker bush, devil's thorn. Shelly knows all the names of everything. Oh.
Oh, look, see?
This is working.
Yeah.
Nice vine. It almost bowled past you. Wait, pause. What are those called, those plants?
Mayaples.
Mayaples. What grows in their mayaples? Not our mushrooms, but everyone else's mushrooms. Okay.
Ready?
You're carrying the brunt of the load now.
Not really too much.
Whoa!
So we're going this way?
Yeah, this is where I thought two people wasn't going to fit.
Alright.
See, we kind of cleared this a little bit. Alright, now.
Let me get behind this tree. Now you come.
This log is going to go in front of us quickly.
Alright. I got a hold of the tree.
Yo, the log is heavy.
Okay.
Okay, here we go.
We'll mow down this tree.
Luckily, this isn't super far. Well, watch out for that big rock. Wow. You know, this would probably be a lot easier if I didn't film it. Are you carrying this by yourself? Because I feel like I got nothing.
I'm just lifting it up over the rock.
Did we go straight or?
Look. Maybe we should go diagonal. We should have went that way. Now we got to go under.
We going under?
We got to go under. Wait, let me.
The boss says we're going under.
Oh, I don't know.
What are we doing?
Let's see. How's your shoulder?
You're carrying it all. I'm here. I'm going for the ride.
This way? You know,
Okay,
carrying it through leaves is easier.
yeah. So here's our trail. So we've reached the trail. So that was quite a shortcut that we took going straight down that hill. Now we decided that we are going to go down that place. We gotta watch out for the.
I don't know. Should we? Or should we just go straight?
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a straight shot. Right there is where we're doing it.
Oh, all right.
And there's our King Kong vine.
We could roll this thing down here.
Yeah. So the biggest problem here is going to be thorns right here.
There's a little sassafras tree.
Yes, it is. Point to that again with your finger. Point.
This is a sassafras tree, and how we know is because the leaf is shaped like a little mitten. I don't know if you can see that.
The other one.
This one is shaped like a mitten.
And if we dug that up and boiled the roots, we would have a tea that tastes like root beer.
Yep, they use sassafras in root beer soda.
All right. What are you going to do about the...
Um,
Why don't you go ahead and just push that up to the side, and I'll just carry the log on.
Devil's thorns.
Devil's thorns. Devil's what?
Thorns.
Devil's thorns.
Devil's weed.
Devil's weed.
Alright.
Okay, so I'm just grabbing it like this, and the log is gonna throw me down the hill. Yo.
Maybe I should have the camera and show you. I can't see.
If you just push the button once, you should be able to see it. The top
This-
button? Yeah.
Okay, Rob's coming down the hill with the log.
Come on.
And there's thorns on both sides of him. Oh, this is one time I'm really happy that there's a honeysuckle bush right there.
Oh, that would have rolled over me, good.
Yeah, it would have.
Okay.
All right. We're ready to go again, right? Yeah. Okay, do you want me to help you?
Well, we got 20 feet. much heavier by yourself. Dragging it across rocks. It was easier in grass and leaves.
Yeah.
And
When we made it. Rob's feet is at the foot of the bridge, and then that's where the top part is going to be.
okay, this was the long one on the right, correct?
Yep. Wait, this was the one on the left.
Are we putting the heavy end at top or at the bottom?
The bottom.
I think the bottom. Ready to lift it?
All right.
Alright. If you press that button once, is the screen there?
It's going.
Press it twice. Set it up so that the heavy end, which isn't much difference if you look at the log, the heavy end, by how we placed all the slats across the log, the heavy end needs to go up. And it's not that much of a difference. So if you look here, the slope is going to only be a little bit of a slope. So we'll notch. I just swallowed a bug. That was not good. We'll notch up the top on our support log really well so it stays nice and firm up there. So we came in and we dug these in really well, and it's been a week or two, and with several rain, and
That is not moving.
that is solid. Holy crap,
I think it dug itself in too.
man. So we're gonna move these rocks, put the supports right on there, and we're gonna have to get pretty creative because that bends a little bit with where we notch it, but that's okay. We did that on purpose so it had a little more support right there. Okay, so Shelly's just gonna lift this log up and set a ramp in there. That is a big mystery. We measured this distance by comparing the distance of this log to this stick. And if for whatever reason some numbnuts didn't notice that the sticks are different, that would be me, then we have a problem. Can you put that stick next to our support there? Yeah, it's actually bring it down because it's not at the end down there. It is the same distance. Same distance. In theory, this should just fit right across and set on the sleepers. Are you ready? We're going to set it up there, or we're just going to leave it and drag the other one down?
Oh. I think we better drag the other one down, or else we won't.
Oh, okay.
Let's go back up.
We'll figure out any lessons learned to see if there's an easier way of doing it. Up we go. We decided not to go up because we were too anxious to test it out to see how our fit was. This support, can you lift that up? Just a little bit. This support had a natural,
Maybe.
just a little, had a natural thing right there. So that's where we started to cut it the first time. So when that fits over, and slide it up a little bit,
It needs to go up some.
it just grabs onto it really well. We're going to notch it out quite a bit anyway, but it has a natural support.
It's even
So we can drag this up a little bit there. And then notice how well it fits on the sleeper. Woo! That's perfect. We will notch this out right there. notch it out, and we're going to put dowels straight down into that. That is a full log that we buried. That's not a small half log there. That is full. We did not want that to move. This down here is going to hold all the weight, in addition to this up there in the hill. We're going to take this off and notch it, because I just couldn't wait to see if it fit, and drag it all the way down here and hope.
It's already naturally notched. And it goes up right there.
Yeah. All those logs that's above, we're going to take those off, and we're going to build a step leading to the bridge. And then across that right there is our first board. And that first step is going to be this high. So we're not going to need to fill that in very much at all, because it's going to be like this high right there. So we're just going to fill it in, so that's a natural progression straight.
We need to fill it with.
Yeah, and we'll fill this in with rock so that it doesn't wash away. Yeah, it fit. Our guesstimation from way above the hill actually works. We'll definitely have to notch that out really well, because that is going to hold all of this weight. And then this one as well down at the bottom, but especially up there.
I should have brought my marker to mark the spot to notch it with.
That's what we're going to do tomorrow. If we don't do it before you get here, then that's
Okay.
our job, is to notch it. That's why I'm inclined to wait until you get home. Okay, we're done for this. That looks pretty cool.
I think this tree, I didn't notice it before, but it's about half dead too.
Yeah, that tree's definitely gone. Oh, I wanted to show people our Hong Kong vine. So here's a trail. I didn't do this before very well. So see these two little trees? We decided we're going to use those as a nice screen. Hong Kong vine. Hong Kong, not Hong Kong. King Kong vine. Look how big that thing is. That's just a beast. It's awesome looking. It goes all the way up the tree. Let's build the bench right here, right between these two trees. Cut down this viburnum crap right between the trees. See, that's an awesome view. It's perfectly centered. Okay, enough. We're heading down with the second log. Our lessons learned was not to get all fancy and just wrap it around the log and just put it on our arm like this, because we found that we kind of dropped it off of our body. We're lifting it with our hands anyway. So you got it up there on your shoulder, which is nice, but now we have a little more control, and it was a lot easier dragging this down with our hands, and this log was a little lighter. Yeah. Yeah. So now with just our arms, we can kind of swing it.
Are we going in between the tree and those?
Yes.
Okay.
And since we have more play with the rope, we can go single file. So you can go ahead, and I'll hold it back in case it starts sliding down on you. Last time at this point, you just let go, didn't you? And I just dragged it myself.
Basically.
So anyway, that's the lessons learned. Enough of the video. I'm going to carry it down. Our spring trail bridge or the Cedar log bridge. I'm not sure what we're going to call this thing. And some of the videos that I already made got deleted by some numbnuts. And so I wanted to show you a few things. First, here we are. We have the supports on the sleepers. And Shelly is holding the camera. My sister Shelly.
Hello.
Been the star of the video this entire time. So, if we can go down and look at the sleepers. What we have done, you can go really close if you want, is we notched out this support, and the support is sitting right on the sleeper. We could have notched out the sleeper as well, but we decided not to, just to keep it bigger. And we dug the sleeper into the ground. This is not flattened, this is hard, solid, all the way into the ground, so that this will never move. We actually had a flash flood. He's looking at me. We actually had a flash flood through here, what, last week? And this is, look at the creek. There's no water in here. This is just left over from the rain. So this is above the spring. And so there's almost no water. This is usually dry. So we had a flash flood in here, and just right down there, one of our trash things that someone left here 60 something years ago, there was a tire with the rim still in it. And that rim, that tire got washed down this nothing creek. Why I'm telling you that is our rocks that Shelly built on the side, everything, nothing got washed out. So that's really good to know. So we didn't notch out the sleepers. We only notched out the supports. And now that we've done that, this one is notched out almost perfectly. We spent way too much time on that. And this one over here, as you can see, there's a little bit of gap right in here. But the weight of the sleeper is still very strong on the sleeper, the weight of the support. So we notched this out, we'll notch that out, and here, let me take the camera. And I'm just going up here, and we didn't notch this out because it was so thin to start with. And we just decided it's going to be strong enough down on the other end, and we notched this guy out. This side is less than perfect, but over here, that fits really well. So Shelly and I, there's Shelly, we took too much time probably notching out those supports, didn't we?
Yeah. But it's okay.
Yeah, I'm an annoying perfectionist with only some things. With many other things, I'm annoyingly not a perfectionist. I digress. So that's where we are right now. We have notched out the supports and the sleepers, and the next thing that we're going to do is put in the dowels. Now we're going to talk about filling in some of the gaps, because Shelly, and definitely not me, definitely only Shelly, is a perfectionist and has to have everything perfect. That's so my problem. We have these gaps right here on the supports on one side in some places, and we could really struggle and make that perfect. We decided to just let it go because this was so solid, because over here on that side, that is pretty much perfect. So just because we want to fill in the gaps and prevent moisture from getting inside, we are going to use some of the sawdust that we created from all of our work with these cedar branches. We're going to take a handful or so, put in this bucket, and then I read this somewhere. I honestly haven't tried it, and I think that might be too much, but we don't know. We're going to try. And then what do you got? Some sort of wood glue? I read that we can.
Not Lowe's brand, sorry, or it might be. I don't even know.
I once read that you can make wood filler with sawdust and wood glue, or even Elmer's school glue. We're going to try that, and we figured that using this glue with a handful of sawdust and kind of mixing that up, and then shoving that into this hole right here is going to be, even if it doesn't work perfectly like we'd like, it's going to be better than leaving a gap.
And we're going to make it, we're using this really fine stuff that was created by basically drilling and making holes and everything that we've done. So it's very, very fine and beautiful, which we're going to mix with glue. It's not going to be pretty after that.
My first thought was, when we drilled out the holes, we have all this other fine sawdust right here from drilling out the holes. It's even more fine. The true woods person, I think, would suggest that we use the super fine stuff that's right here. We have all this left over. We don't have a lot of fine stuff. And because, Shelly, that feels really light.
It's paper light.
It's paper light. And because of that, we're just going to use it because, like we said, we believe it's better than nothing.
Yep.
So that's what we're going to do next. We're going to try it first and see how it works. And if it works, we're going to film it. Dowels. This is Shelly, my sister. We have installed the dowels because some numbnuts didn't videotape us actually putting in the dowels. We talked about how we were going to do them on a previous video, so that's how we notched it in, and that worked perfectly. When we just heard some major branches falling, but there's deer all in this area, so we were hoping it was deer, but it was not. So the dowels and our system of using that hole of not to beat down the dowels, that worked perfectly, didn't it?
It worked great.
So
we kept the dowels in good shape.
So here are the dowels. This is exactly what we used. Something very much like this. We took a cedar branch and we just shaved it off. And if you can look here, that's not straight at all. And it went in perfectly. So I was kind of concerned. Yeah, this one's a little bit bigger than the other ones, but they went in perfectly, and I was concerned that this being bent and all that, we're going to have to like go wet it in the water and then just straighten it out. So it was great. In fact, it was so good. And all we did is we took the bit. Here, we're going to hand it back and forth. So we took that bit for the screwdriver and we just kind of compared it and said, okay, that's roughly the same size. The bit was actually bigger than these dowels, and we were very concerned that the hole was going to be too big. We even brought down wood filler because I expected when these dowels went in the boards that we're going to have a lot of play in there, and we're going to have to fill them up just so water doesn't leak. That didn't happen. In fact, using these cedar things worked better than real dowels that I have used to build other things in my barn. And I love using dowels instead of nails and wood, nails and screws and stuff, because it just seems so much stronger. So if you look right here, this is a dowel. Oh, you're getting a nice close-up.
Yeah, there's a dowel.
So we just drilled through this, got through this one, made sure we went like an inch into the support, and then we moved this out of the way because as we kept pulling up the sawdust, it started smoking, and we were going to start a fire pretty soon. It started smoking, and so we just moved the other one, and then we were able to dig through this support, the sleeper, much better. What we discovered, kind of an accident, is we went all the way to the end of, I think it was that one up there. We went all the way to the end, and when we were banging in our dowels, it went down into the dirt. So it was about this long. So our dowels up here and up there, can you see how long that is? So it went through the support, through the sleeper, and then all the way down into the dirt. This thing is not moving. And then if you look at the dowels right here, we brought wood filler because we were expected there to be a gap. There's no gap whatsoever. That fit perfectly. we just made sure that our drill bit was just barely bigger than our dowel. And because it was barely bigger, I don't know why it fit so perfectly. Well, I do know why, because we kind of measured it against the skinny side. And if you look at this, it's kind of hard to tell which is the fat side and which is the skinny side. But if you look really carefully, this side is slightly skinnier than this side. So we put the skinnier side down, and then as it went down the hole, it slowly got bigger and tighter and tighter and tighter. And at the end, we pounded that in. And if you can look even at this guy, and as you can see, that dowel is bigger than the one that we were just showing. That went in perfectly. It went in through here, went in through the sleeper, and it's in the ground. When we first started doing this, Shelly works at Lowe's. I held up the dowels. I'm like, should we buy a real dowel, or should we just make them? And then we reasoned that Cedar is going to last a lot longer than dowels you buy in the store. And so we decided to use Cedar, even though it's all bendy and everything. And up there, those dowels went in just as flat, just as solid, and just as clean as these. So I was really happy.
Me too.
That these dowels worked out. I was so happy that they worked out as good as they did.
We were both amazed and like, what just happened?
Yes. And now I have no fear that this will last and be as strong as anything we're going to hold. So Cedar log bridge is going to outlast us. Easy.
Mm-hmm.
Unless we figure out what I've been looking for all my life, and I figure out how to live till like I'm 160 or something. That's next project. Okay, dowels. Next step, we're going to fill in the gaps. Here we are. We're going to fill in the gaps right up here and the edge of the log, and that's a support, I should say. And we're going to try to fill in this little gap right there. This is what we're going to do. We've grabbed a little bit of sawdust. We're pouring in some wood glue. And to be honest, I don't even know how much. I have a feeling it's going to be not enough. But we're going to try and do this as an experiment. We've been using Cedar for everything. So these are Cedar dowels that we were going to use for supports. And we brought everything down in our little bucket, in our tools and everything. We were prepared, except for a mixing device. So we're using a Cedar stick. And it looks like as you're mixing it, those big pieces are actually crumbling into smaller pieces, which is working great. And we don't have enough glue, do we?
Mm-mm.
So we're just mixing this, and we might end up using a lot of this wood glue. That might be a whole lot for just this gap right here.
I probably put too much
Too much sawdust?
sawdust in there.
You're doing all the work. I'm just here yabbering. Is yabbering a word?
Jabbering is.
Jabbering.
All right, so this feels like
Kind of puttyish.
it's still crumbly. I think I put in too much cedar crumble things.
All right. Well, let's see how it crams in there. Do you want me to cram it in?
Yeah,
Okay, here.
I think that we need more glue, but we'll see.
I think you can throw some more in there too, because it's pretty powdery.
Still the powder. Golly, we're going to use a lot of this stuff. We might have to make a trip to the place we got the glue.
Someone is supportive of her employer.
Okay, now this looks like something that's worth a try.
Okay, here you go. On
All
the
right.
camera. Let's see. I know the world says use gloves and everything. We're using glue. And usually I wear gloves on everything. I am actually an engineer, and I type, and I can type like 80 words a minute. So I don't like to get my hands dirty if I avoid it. But clearly I don't care getting dirty. And I'm not gonna not worry now. So I'm just gonna push this in. And it is kind of gummy, icky.
Well, this can be your poking thing
Yes.
if you need it.
I'm gonna use my finger as the poking thing for now. It is poking in there pretty well. I'm actually surprised we're using this much. Which tells me, how's the other side? Is there a big gap on the other side?
No.
Can you show me?
Oh.
You know the model of Missouri? Anyone happens to know? I'm not sure if the camera videotapes that closely, does it?
Yeah, it's doing it.
Awesome. I didn't know that. Okay, so that's pretty close to fit. Now we're just fixing this other side. Because if it was not that close, our anal cells probably would have forced ourselves to fix it. And then after it gets too tight, it's cramming in there. Because the dowel is in there and we cram that dowel in there tight, I am not even worried about cramming this tight and pushing it up. I just want to prevent rain and bugs. Well, it's going to be hard to prevent bugs, but I just want to prevent rain from sitting inside of there. And we have bark. We should probably clean off that bark. But it's a sleeper, so it's less of a concern for me. So seeing how much is being used for this little crack, the big crack up there, we're going to need to mix up more than one, but we're almost done. Once I get close, I'm going to use the cramming stick.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm dropping some, aren't I? That's okay. What does Bob Ross say? It's just a happy little accident. Can we get in with the stick? That is tight and solid. The wood glue will dry with the cedar, so it will hopefully be almost as strong. Oh, the wood glue is also water resistant.
Water repellent.
No, the side says water resistant.
Oh, dang it.
Which is kind of the same though, water repellent, resistant.
Mm-hmm.
It works if it gets wet. There. And it's definitely sticking in my fingers pretty well. That's why you should wear gloves, because now I'm going to have a pain.
That's a pretty good amount there. I mean, I think we put a good handful in there, and it's a pretty good
Yes, it is
guesstimation
nice.
of what we needed.
And I thought we had way too much. Okay. Every gap is now crammed tight. Okay. I'm going to cram it with my poking stick. And I consider that done. We are going to do the same thing. I don't think you need to watch the video of that. For our bigger gap up here, probably need to mix, but we've used every bit of what you just did. We're going to do the same thing. Fill in the gaps, and then no water is going to be sitting, and this will last even longer. We're filling in the other gap with the sawdust wood glue mix. I wanted to say one thing. This was a pretty good sized hole. So what I did was I put little pieces of wood. So I didn't have to fill this entire hole with wood filler. We crammed little pieces of cedar that we had left over into the gap, just to fill in the gap. Kind of like what we do when we made the steps. We first, probably bigger than that piece. Oh wait, here's a piece. I crammed pieces like this size in there, and I filled in some of the gaps. And just like our steps, we threw rocks in just to fill in space. And then we piled in the dirt around the rocks, and you can't see the rocks. So that's what we did here. We put in a lot of the cedar pieces into the gaps, and then we crammed in these gaps with the wood filler. And another thing about the wood filler, are you ready to leave this little spot?
Mm-hmm.
So the pieces that we had, these shavings, were kind of big. So, are you able to shred? So what Shelly thought of was taking this with her hands and just picking it up. No, you can just use this. So we poured it in there. We poured that. Notice the pieces are kind of big. And then she just takes it and just shaves it like that with her hands. And that makes it much smaller. I honestly don't know if it matters. I just know that the thing I read uses sawdust, which is usually much smaller, and wood glue. I did notice that when we crammed in the slightly bigger pieces into this gap right here, that it really didn't matter how small it was because it just crammed in anyway. So it might have been better that it was bigger. So this is a mixture. This is somewhere between sawdust and the big size that's shavings from cutting a lot of cedar. Okay, I think we're good.
All right.
Hello everybody. I wanted to show you how I made a dowel, because I saw that when we were having a number of dowels, they looked nice and clean and like a perfect dowel minus a few curves. So I just wanted to have a video of making a dowel. So first of all, if you look right there, there's a branch that I just trimmed off. That's a cedar tree I just trimmed off up in the yard. And I didn't cut down anything, it's just a branch. And I noticed that there is a straight section in here. And I need a piece that's about maybe 1.5 feet long to make a good dowel, just to put as a support for a step or something like that. So I'm going to take that, which kind of looks like a mess, and I'm just going to videotape me making a dowel. So hopefully the angle here is going to work. Okay, first thing I do is I decide where I'm going to have the dowel. Oh, you saw. So if you look at this, it's straight down to a point right here, and then it starts to curve. So I am going to cut off right there where it starts to curve. And all of this, I'm probably burn. The other place where it starts to curve, I found that I could beat it in pretty well, as long as it stays a pretty good size. And even with a curve, if it's wide enough, it doesn't bend too much. So I'm going to go to about maybe right there. And cut that off. And then here, I angle it so that when it goes in the ground, it goes in a little easier. And I'm already seeing that this is going to be a little shorter than I wanted. Alright, so I have this piece here. I'm just going to trim it off. Come on. You can do it. One of the problems with this piece that I had, which made it more difficult than most, is that there were so many branches coming off. But even with that, this will still end up working fairly well. So I'm trying to knock off the branches because when it goes into the ground, if there are little knots of stuff coming off of it, it just goes down into the ground not as good. And it spreads out the ground. It doesn't meet the hard surface well. So just knocked off the pieces. Now get a knife, and this is what's nice about it. It comes off really easy if it's a recently cut piece. All these difficult parts are where those branches came off. And notice very quickly we have a nice looking dowel. Look at that. There you go. That's how you make a dowel. Thank you for watching. Hello, I wanted to make a short video on dowels, on banging in dowels. We learned a lesson. Well, one, we showed making all the steps a while back, and we showed that we were banging in dowels with that hatchet right there, the blunt end of the hatchet. And then we got a little bit smarter, and we started bringing in that little sledgehammer thing. But what we found that works the best is we found a fairly large piece of cedar, that is the old cedar that was kind of rotten from a tree, but actually not rotten, it was just really old. I'm sorry, the camera's jumping and I'm getting attacked by mosquitoes. So we found that hitting with this is much more effective than with a hammer. And if not directly with this, then we put this on the dowel. I can't do it because I don't have a videographer or a person here. If we put the stick on the dowel and then smash it with the hammer, it doesn't start beating this end all up and start to spread out. And for some reason, this just works so much better. So I would encourage you to get what I call a stick that is solid, that I call an enforcer. And just use that instead of a hammer. It does less damage to the dowel. It has a wider surface of hitting, and it allows you to really whack the thing. All right, that's it. Hello, everybody. We are finally putting the bridge together. This is Shelly, and we've done the first 4, and we're doing number 5. And number 5, with our secret code, 5 fingers on the hand.
Number 5.
We didn't get anyone down here to test it, so this will be a little secret that'll last forever. What we've done so far, we've pre-drilled holes way up way, and I think we might have videotaped that. I'm not sure if we did or not. And we pre-drilled these little holes right here. And there should be one over there somewhere.
Mine is way over here, right there.
And with some of the thicker logs, we used a thicker screw. And for the smaller ones, a thinner screw that's a little bit shorter. So we're using 5 5/8 and 5 inches. And these things are solid in there. And we are screwing them in. Are you ready to screw?
The hole is over nothing right here.
Okay. It might be angled in.
Okay,
when we pre-drilled it, we set these on the logs, on the support logs, up at the house. And we pre-drilled.
I think that's it. So what? I can't see it.
And these, well, it's thin, it should work.
Where's he set?
Uh-oh. You're going at an angle. You're tilting this way. No, your drill's got to go straight down. It's got to go this way.
That is very crooked.
It's okay. Just make sure you're straight. Nope, that's crooked.
Nope. No.
Yes, it is. If you look where I am, it goes up and over. It's got to go this way. Yeah. Okay. That's in good.
You're all right.
And we are going to continue screwing in these support logs. Well, these are support logs. We're calling these slats. Mm-hmm. And oh my God, these are solid. Feels so good. It's getting done finally. This is the very last few screws on our bridge. Look at this bad boy. Awesome. We have a very slick system. We have one drill to drill the holes. And then we have two different sizes of screws. We have a thinner screw and a bigger screw for the longer logs. And so we have one drill with one bit and the other drill with the other bit. And you guys are going to do this together at the same time. Oh my gosh, how exciting. Here we go. You want me to count? On 4. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go.
I win.
Arrgh.
That is awesome.
That
So,
feels
should I use the other screw on this one? The last one, or should I go ahead and use that big one?
Use a big one because it's pretty wide. All right, I'm going to move this, and we had an extra board. This one was all twisty. We decided not to use that one. The very last screw. Oh my gosh.
Who's not supposed to make free finger smashing?
Okay, can you guys walk on it?
Alright.
Safety.
Safety.
Free safety now. It's already been.
Where's our handy hole?
Yeah, we got the handy hole thing up top.
The banister,
Oh, man.
we will level out the banister.
That is nice, ain't it, Keith?
It's so solid, isn't it?
Solid.
Wait, jump up.
It
God.
doesn't move.
It's so beautiful.
210 pounds.
So we're gonna.
20.
So I'm gonna walk, videotape the movement.
Oh crap, that's Rick.
Oh. Wow.
Solid. Man. No movement whatsoever.
About the 25.
This is cool.
Yeah, it doesn't. There's no give in that bridge.
So now we're gonna take that banister. We're gonna raise it up on that end and dig it a little bit over here, or maybe cut it a little shorter.
Yeah,
I think we're probably just gonna put it. It's sitting up. There's a sleeper we cut just for that, and we're gonna get rid of the older logs that are just kind of sitting there that kind of peeled off of that really awesome old log, and we're gonna raise that up higher so that this banister is closer to being even. And then, if you wanna,
we're gonna put a thing right
here, Keith, just go demonstrate.
Without falling.
And then we cut one that we left one that was longer.
Were you going on top or side? On the side.
Yes. So we're going to go, but this is going to go all the way down into, we're going to dig a hole. Moving over here. We're going to dig a hole. So it's going to mount up there, hold the banister a little stronger.
It's going to put it like right on top pretty much.
Yes.
It's going to be, and there's going to be screws in it.
And then it's actually going to go down. Can you just let it go down? We're going to drill a hole into the ground. And so we left that piece long so it'll give a little more support horizontally. And then we're going to also support the banister. And we may even do another one over here on the very end into the dirt just because it's there. Because it's there.
It'll be uniform.
So going back here.
This would be up about here.
Yes.
Up to my bloody finger.
We're talking about the banister.
Your banister. My bloody finger.
And then what we will probably need to do is notch out those boards because they're very slippery when it's wet.
Yeah, we can do the upper on it. Gotta make that noise too.
Okay. This is it. We finally finished
the bridge.
Oh, and you've got that board ready to go. I'm like,
yeah, hold.
It was long.
So both stand on it one more time. It's not even moving.
I know. It is solid. I would drive a motorcycle over this easy.
motorcycles. Now I have to buy one.
Yeah. It's not big enough for a four-wheeler, but a motorcycle, yes. Getting a motorcycle on the turn would be a little tricky, but...
Okay, well, thank you for watching. We will take more video once all of this is finalized. And we're going to do a video all the way through the trail because we've done so much more on the trail since the first day we started. So, thank you, Keith. Thank you, Shelly. Thank you, Rap. See you later. Sorry, at the tree with the cedar log bridge. During the coronavirus outbreak, I traveled from Massachusetts to Missouri and did a lot of work from home there from my normal job, but in my spare time, kind of as in my own social distancing, social quarantining, self-quarantining efforts, I and my brother Keith and Shelly built a bridge. And all this bridge are from logs and branches and everything from me clearing out sections of our yard where we had trees growing next to trees that were killing each other and a bunch of other branches that were just kind of hanging down and half dead. So this bridge resulted from a desire to send our trail through this branch of this tree. And we built this bridge. And this banister was a very long tree that we found right over there in the forest. It was really nice and strong and solid. So we decided to use that as a banister. Notice how long and straight it is. And in another video you can see that this thing hanging on the side, from a distance, it looks like a snake. It looks awesome. Anyway, here's our bridge. What we did was we cut various sizes of logs and we made it very strong. I'm jumping up and down on it. You can't tell, but it's very, very strong. In our banister, we mounted the banister looking down into the creek, into the hole. We dug it about a foot and then we stacked rocks around it. We put in a dowel, a natural cedar dowel, and this thing is so strong. Oh, I'm actually hanging on it right now. It doesn't even move. And we wanted to make this log bridge just really stand out, so we found some rocks from Rock Creek right there. We live on Rock Creek Road, and I was looking on a map and I noticed that Rock Creek begins real close to us, and then Rock Creek follows along past the school that I went to when I was in middle school. And then it continues on through Mastodon State Park here in Missouri. And then Rock Creek continues longer and goes all the way into the Mississippi River. So because we live in Rock Creek, and we lived here pretty much all our lives, we wanted to bring a little bit of Rock Creek here onto our trail, onto the spring. And so these rocks here on our bridge are from Rock Creek. And how we built the bridge, those logs underneath, is from one tree that was invading another tree, and the two trees next to each other were killing each other, like I said earlier. So we cut it down and ended up being almost perfectly 18 feet long, and so we made our bridge 9 feet. And we took these logs and we either split them in half or we just notched them. And these log supports are sitting on sleepers, and those sleepers are buried in the ground. We notched the boards out, the supports, set them on there. We used dowels made from cedar, and those dowels go through the supports, through the sleepers, and since they're about 2.5 to 3 feet long, they actually go into the ground. We really pounded those things in, and it was a beautiful thing when it just continued to go without an issue. And then we screwed those in. We thought about tying them on, but we wanted it to be super strong. So there's our cedar log bridge. I love this thing. It's so strong, so solid, so inviting. This whole area, over time, we're just going to decorate this area. Maybe put a bench right there, and I don't know what we're going to do. Any time someone comes up with an idea, we're just going to add to it. So that's a cedar log bridge.